Hi there, welcome to today's episode of Sports Zone. I'm your host, Molly Casey. Tonight I'm really excited because I get a chance to talk about a sport I'm not very educated on, and I'm excited to learn, and I hope you are too. Diabetes, on the other hand, is something that I'm also not educated on, and I'm looking forward to learning about that as well. Imagine wanting that chocolate bar, going to the fridge, seeing a nice chocolate bar that you want to eat, but not being able to because it could affect your health. Well, hundreds of thousands of people face that struggle every day. And it's events like this that the Shelburne Golf and Country Club are doing are going to change that. And I'd like to welcome Nicole with me to talk about this. Thanks, Nicole, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we're here to talk about the Shelburne Flame of Hope Pro-Am Charity Golf Tournament. Can you kind of tell me what that is?
Sure. So for the last 3 years, this is our fourth year, we've done an event that's called Dufferin-Diabetes Day of Champions, which featured a pro golfer from native to Shelburne who lives with type 1 diabetes. And his passion was to support kids who live with type 1 diabetes and their ability to attend D camps, which is a summer camp program by Diabetes Canada. It's sold out every year. It's an amazing community event. Basically on that day, over the last 3 years, we've been able to raise $150,000 and have sent over 90 kids who live with diabetes to D camp. So it's a really great opportunity. And this year we've done a special where we want to do a Pro-Am feature. Okay. So we've rebranded it as Shelburne Flame of Hope, and it'll feature a pro-Canadian golfer who will play in each foursome. And yeah, it's really going to be a great day. It's August 1st, and it is at the Shelburne Golf and Country Club.
Wow, that's really cool. So in regards to diabetes, it's kind of very cliche. People say, yeah, I know what that is. Can you kind of touch base on diabetes?
Sure. There's definitely a lot of different information around what is diabetes, who gets diabetes, and how we can kind of manage it in different aspects. So essentially there's kind of 3 different types of diabetes: type 1, type 2, and gestational. So the one that this tournament supports is type 1 diabetes. Okay. In Canada, there's 11 million people who are affected by prediabetes or diabetes. So it's one of the largest chronic diseases that we have. And with type 1 diabetes, it's roughly 300,000 people. So 10% of that population is affected by that. And it essentially means that it's an autoimmune disease, and it means your pancreas does not function to break down insulin, so you're insulin dependent. It's a 24/7 disease that you have to monitor. Basically, like, it's an intense workload of a chronic disease, and with that around-the-clock care, how can children manage it? So this event, by sending kids to D camps, really kind of provides that self-management for them. And also, think of this town, right? It's kind of a smaller town, and maybe they're the only kid in Orangeville in their school who has diabetes, or maybe they're the only child that they know of it. So it provides a great aspect of inclusion as well, right?
Absolutely. And diabetes is not something that's curable, right? So being told one day, you have this, you can't have that chocolate bar you want, what kind of effect do you think that would have on a kid?
So we always say it's not necessarily about you can't have that chocolate bar, it's everything in moderation, because type 2 diabetes is really lifestyle imbalances, but there's definitely things that we promote, and it's like those healthy life choices. But type 1 means you're insulin dependent, which means essentially it's not about necessarily the chocolate bar, but we do want to make sure that we are kind of low sugars and different things like that. But it's the management of it. So it's the dailiness of that disease. There is no cure. Right now we have insulin, which keeps people alive, but it's not a cure. So ultimately, we know as part of our mission is that, yes, we want to have a cure to diabetes, but we want to help, all those people who live with this disease, whether type 1 or type 2, live the healthiest lives possible. And a lot of that through is knowledge of self-management of diabetes.
So do you know how someone gets diabetes? Is it just one day you change, that kind of thing, or? So
there's different factors. So like we've mentioned, lifestyle choices, but that's really kind of type 2 more so, and there's definitely genetic factors, different things like that. It's not you can catch it kind of disease. It's something that is autoimmune, so you are more prone to it.
And it's a huge deal to deal with it. So would you say D camp helps kids learn how to cope with it, how to deal with it?
So I'm really always passionate actually about D camps because I think it's a really great program. We're the only charity in Canada that provides camps that are specifically designed to help children who have diabetes. It's round the clock care. And it's where they not only learn to self-manage, so they'll learn to, count their carbs, they'll learn to do insulin injections, different things like that, but it's in a real camp setting. And I think one of the most important things is that opportunity to be with kids who are just like themselves. They get it. They understand what diabetes is, and that empowerment from being there, right? And often people really focus on how great it is for kids, but for families, it's great itself, because if you're a parent of someone who has diabetes, right, you're providing that around the clock care. So it acts as a great respite for families as well. You're helping the kid, but you're helping the family. And when they come back, they're going to have a confidence on how they can manage their diabetes, and they're going to be, much more self-reliant. They're going to have a friend that they're going to keep for the next 10, 20 years, right? And those great memories.
Which is amazing. So what does Diabetes Canada DCamp program provide the kids? You said memories, like teaching
so
abilities.
It's really about empowerment and self-management, right? So with the doctors, the nurses, the dietitians up there, right, they're in an environment that if they're in the lunch dining hall and somebody's like, I have a 5, I have a 6, that might mean nothing to you or I, because we don't live with diabetes. But to another child, they're like, yeah, that's amazing, because they know that's a great number to have, right? So it's that feeling that you're not alone in this, right? And that you can learn from others. There's nothing better than peer-to-peer kind of learning. Most of the camp counselors are people who have lived with diabetes and graduated through our programs, right? So it's really good for empowerment, the mental health of the child, right? But also learning how to do those things with diabetes. But plus it's fun, right? They have swimming, all of those cool things.
Well, yeah, going on with that, what do they do at these camps?
So an average day, like, they'll do their blood testing. They wake them up in the middle of the night, even sometimes checking their bloods. And so there's a lot of that diabetes education, but there's totally a lot of fun. So when you go up there, you'll see anything from like rock climbing walls to, it's a totally cool camp. Swimming, they have archery, they have all of those great things. So you don't feel like you're being excluded. It's a completely inclusive environment.
That's really cool. So is it a learning camp, or is it, like you said, they do fun things? Is it overnight? How does it work?
So it is overnight camp. There's 3 camps in Ontario, and I say we're fortunate to have 3 camps in Ontario, but the fact is that we even have waiting lists for the camps, right? We have 3 because we have so many children in need and who will really benefit from our services. So, a typical day is anything from doing those routine diabetes checks, but also being able to learn how to go out and be physically active and being able to recognize your own kind of lows and highs. They help people do those things too.
Which is super important, because the children, they're young. They don't know what to do. What's the age range?
So the age is generally 7 to 15 for the general camp program. But we also do like development camp programs for leadership. We have family camps even now because, so a lot of kids, maybe they won't even get to sleep over, right? Because it's a lot of responsibility to ensure like another person's responsible for your child. So sometimes this is the first time you hear from a kid who comes back and they're like, I had a sleepover, and it's 2 weeks or a week long, so it's great. Or where you see kids who are like, I didn't want to show people my pump, and they wear their t-shirts into the water, and then when they come back from camp, they're just out there and showing everybody, because there's not that self-consciousness about it, right?
So you definitely help kids grow, instead of stopping them and saying, you have diabetes. It's more of, hey, you have diabetes, and that's okay, right? Which I think is really important. So what do you think the importance of events? So this golf tournament, that's support. What's the importance of support from the community for events like this?
I always think that, one, having events like this in the community, it really brings to focus what is diabetes for those people who don't know. And you know what? The more people understand what is Diabetes Canada, they'll realize that 1 in 4 people is affected by diabetes, right? It's bringing it to the forefront and understanding what we do as an organization to support those people. So if we didn't have events like this, how many kids have benefited from this that might not been able to otherwise, right? When you think of, we have a waiting list, if we can grow and we can have more sponsors and more participants in events like this that happen everywhere else, we can essentially offer more services as well. But this event in particular, although this is like the 4th year it's going to be happening, it's really about community. And you see a lot of, whether they're small business owners, whether they're predominant members in the community or not, people really get together and they rally behind something. And I think having those champions in our community really opens the door to providing that, next step of awareness about what diabetes is and the power that people have to help an organization kind of reach these goals.
So is there sponsorship opportunity for people when it comes to this golfing tournament?
Yeah, 100%. This year our goal is, we don't really like to think of it in a dollar value, because we like to think of it as how many kids can we help at this tournament? How many kids can we send to camp? And we are really aiming this year to be able to send 50 kids to camp.
Wow.
And that's an aggressive goal, but we know that this is a great community that will come behind and support it. So there's always sponsorship opportunities and golfing opportunities that can be with it. So anything you want to do, we can kind of promote it. We can work together to form what it is, because everybody should have an interest in kind of supporting such a large disease that affects so many people.
So how is the community support? You were saying there's small businesses that come. Is there a rally behind it? Are people interested? Or
100%. Like, we've been very fortunate over the last few years to have sponsors who have grown from, like a whole sponsor to a gold sponsor, or, what they may say, like, we're only a small business, but we can sell your diabetes awareness circles, or we'll do a barbecue for you. So it doesn't matter if you're a small business with 2 employees or if you're a large manufacturing business that has like 3,000 employees. There's always something that somebody can do to help the cause, right? Even if you want to donate a silent auction items, at the end of the day, just having people out there supporting it, volunteers, anything like that. It's just amazing to see everybody come together. How often do you see an event where there's 200 people in one little town, generally enjoying such a great day, and then they all know each other and they know they're here, and it's a well anticipated and well loved event. So I'm really hoping that it continues for years here.
Absolutely. Okay, $1 million question. Do you have to be good at golf? Because I cannot hit a ball to save my life. So I think that's a big question for other people. Do I have to be able to hit a ball well, or how does it work?
Definitely not. It's not even necessarily about being a great athlete. And what better opportunity to have a pro play on your team, so it can increase your ability to, be the top player of the day. We see anybody who's, a golf club member to somebody who is their first time golfing come out. I've never hit a ball in my life, so I'm probably on the same field as you. But it's great because anybody comes and joins it.
I think that's important. I think it's important to get, pros to amateurs to people like me who can't even I just look at the ball and run because it's just not happening. So last quick minute here that we have, tell me about where people can go. If our audience is interested in finding out more information about DCamp or DCanada, where can they go? So
like I said before, our event is August the 1st, and you can go to diabetes.ca. You can call 1-800-BANTING, or you can go to our DCamp website to find out more about the camps. But really, if you want to come out and support our event, please feel free to contact 1-800-BANTING and ask for myself, and I'd be more than happy to work with anybody in any capacity that they can contribute, because we're really aiming for those 50 kids this year.
Well, that's amazing. And you heard it here first. If you want to get in contact with Nicole, it's 1-800-BANTING. And coming up next, I get to speak to a guy who owns Shelburne Golf and Country Club, and he's a championship golfer. I'm slightly intimidated because I can't hit a golf ball, but let's see what I can learn. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. It's okay, I worked myself up. I'm ready to talk to him. He's an Ontario Hall of Famer, a championship golfer. He owns a golf course, which is absolutely out of this world beautiful. And it's okay, I'm ready. If you're ready, I'm ready. I'd like to introduce Sam Young. Thank you so much for being with me. You're a pro golfer. You're a huge deal in the golfing world. Tell me how you got into golfing.
Well, we came from Scotland, and my father was very much involved in the little golf course we had back home. Here he tells me that they used to have sheep on the golf course to cut the fairways, and then they got their first fairway mower, and on and on and on. And I went back there with a group in the year 2000, and his picture was still up on the wall, so it's kind of nice. So anyway, he introduced me to the game when we got this. When we came from Scotland, we bought a new house. I don't know how, because we were poor. But the next thing I knew, there was a set of golf clubs there, and I started swinging them and got out to play. And then my mother found out that there was caddying jobs just up the street, and so I started caddying and really found a love for the game. And We used to get to play there on Monday mornings at the private country club at 7 o'clock in the morning, so
Wow.
we did that, and it just went on from there.
So you fell in love with it right away?
Yeah.
And how did you decide it's what you wanted to do?
Well, when I was in high school, that's all I could think about. My electronics teacher was talking, and I was thinking about coming down the 18th fairway and making a great shot and holding the putt, and I wanted to be a player. So after I finished high school, I put college and university aside, and I went down to Florida to practice and play every day. And I was really lucky to run into and stay with Mo Norman, who is an absolute genius with the golf club and one of the straightest ball strikers in the world. And we played every day. He showed me work ethic of how to practice and how to play, and I got much better.
Wow.
And I went back there for at least 4 years with Mo, and by that time I was a good player.
So when did you turn pro?
I turned pro in 1961.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you've won a couple championships since then?
Yes, I have.
And you're
I
in
won the
Hall of Fame?
Ontario Assistants and many other things. And I'm known mostly, I was on the Canadian tour and I got hit with arthritis. And so I had to turn back to the business of golf, and I started using all my knowledge to teach. And now I'm known for teaching kids. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you own Shelburne Golf and Country Club.
Yeah.
In Shelburne, of course. How did that come about? How did you decide that that's what you wanted to
Well,
do?
I had another course in Toronto, and I just thought, just for insurance, maybe I should have another golf course in the back pocket. And it was a 9-hole golf course at that time, and I had enough money to put a down payment on it and paid for it. And actually, I lost the lease on the golf course in Toronto, which is now a housing development.
Oh.
And went to Shelburne, and then I developed it into an 18-hole golf course and designed it myself and worked on it. And then I built a really good practice facility. That's where all my students practice, obviously. And that's a pretty good part of the story.
So how does one develop a golf course? How do you make it from 9 to 18 holes?
Well, we had to obviously buy the property. I bought the farm behind us, and there was one property of 50 acres, and now there's 5 parcels of land, which total 240 acres.
Wow.
So the golf course is quite spacious, and there's no holes running up against each other.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I had a lot of ideas of how to build a golf course because I played all over the world. And so I actually went up in an aircraft from Collingwood Airstrip and took pictures. And then figured it out from there.
Wow.
I rooted it from the pictures.
So you, instead of starting from the ground up, you started from the
air down. Yes.
Well,
I
that
did.
works. So you said that you're a teacher. So
Yeah.
going pro, and you faced a challenge of developing arthritis, which does affect a lot of people.
Sure does,
and
yeah.
it's wrecked a couple, careers, and it's
Oh, for sure.
helped a couple careers, and
Yeah.
you're someone that it's helped because you became a teacher. So tell me when you decided, hey, I could teach this.
Well, I was lucky enough. I talked about Mo Norman, and he's a Canadian icon. I was taught by another Canadian icon, George Knudsen.
Okay.
I spent the whole summer with George when I finished high school, and George taught me how to play. And I was forever grateful for that. And George charged me nothing.
Wow.
So I've done a lot of things for nothing for kids, and just to help them develop and get to be a better player. And I've actually developed them well enough that 2 of my girls have been on the national team, and
Wow.
one of my boys has been he's played on the world amateur team, and I've had over 20, close to 25 scholarships for my kids in the American universities, so things are working pretty well. So I still use George Knudsen's workings.
Wow.
I still use that, and pull out his book from time to time and the notes he made for me, and it seems to work.
So now my audience understands why I was so intimidated to interview you, because you're kind of a big deal.
You should never be intimidated. It's just a little white ball. Right?
Well, I mean, as I spoke to Nicole, to me it's a big ball that I just can't hit. So this camp that Nicole was telling me about, and you guys are having a tournament for it. Tell me about the guy it's dedicated to.
the guy is dedicated to David Markle. He started with me when he was 9 years old, and he got into my clinics. I teach all of my kids, and I have close to 50 kids still that I teach every week. And I think I told you before that when we're off camera, I have a 3.5-year-old and a 4-year-old who are both probably going to be really good players. Anyway, David, he took to the game, and he was really interested, and he hung around, and he played every day. Then our putting green at that time was right next to the clubhouse, and he was on the putting green a lot, so he challenged me to a round of putting, and we played for a Diet Pepsi.
Okay.
And at Christmas time, he had to bring over a case of 24 Diet Pepsis to me because I beat him and I wouldn't let him win. I didn't do that. That's not what I do. If you're going to win, you're going to win. And then the next year, I think he brought a case of 12 over, and the next year, I think I took a case of 12 over to him.
Wow.
So he developed really quickly, and he eventually became an Ontario junior champion and Toronto Star champion, and led his team in the American universities, Kent State, to their highest finish ever, a 6th place finish.
Wow.
And he was 9th in the individuals in America. So a really, really good player, really dedicated. He's gone on, he plays at my course every day in the summer and practices there. And he's given a lot of information to the kids of how to play under pressure. And he does that all the time, and again, for nothing.
Wow.
So he's just paying back and paying back. But excuse me, he ran into a problem. He wasn't playing very well. And he happened to go to one of his former players from Kent in Georgia, and his father was a doctor, and David said, I'm really tired and this, and gave all the symptoms of diabetes. And sure enough, he got tested and he had diabetes.
Wow.
So there was the answer of why he wasn't playing so well, and he got on medication, and all of a sudden he was much, much better, and things turned around. But he knew that he wanted to give back because he was helped so much by this doctor and by Diabetes Canada that he wanted to give back, and so he figured out he'd do Dufferin diabetes for kids with diabetes for D camps.
Wow.
And so we have lots of good hockey players around this region. The Ritchie brothers, Dale Howarchuk, who I've taught all his kids, and hopefully Eric Howarchuk, who is on the Canadian tour this year, will play in our event.
Oh, the Ritchie brothers are joining you.
Yes, well, they did the last few years, so we'll
Very
see.
cool.
We'll see how they do this year if we can get them. However, we have changed things into a pro-am, golf professionals.
Yes, explain that to me.
Yeah, so we'll be playing. The golf professionals will be playing in the groups.
Okay.
So the groups will automatically do a lot better because it's a scramble format where everyone hits a shot and you play the best shot. And so the professionals will be playing for $10,000 for a one-day tournament. It's pretty good. It's a $3,000 first prize.
Wow.
And so that's a pretty good picking for one day for them. So we're going to try and get, we have already a number of the best young Ontario players signed up. So
Wow.
we'll know in a matter of a week or so who all is playing. So
Wow.
we're really excited and looking forward to it.
No kidding.
It's going to be a different type of tournament.
So what would you say is the importance of community involvement?
Well, the community involvement, as Nicole was saying, it's huge. It's really huge. We have Bill Gillum at Shelburne Home Hardware is a big supporter. And Chris Harlan from ExploreNet is a big supporter. And on. Giant Tiger in Shelburne is a huge supporter. And it was David Markle's tournament, but make no mistake, it was Peter and Arlene Markle, David's parents, who did all the work for the last 3 years of getting all of the sponsors, getting all of the players, going door to door, and they made it the success it is. And so kudos to them. We just couldn't never have done it without them. But David is now at Cabot Cliffs and Cabot Links out in Inverness, New Brunswick, not New Brunswick, sorry, Nova Scotia, Cape Breton part of, and that's two of the best golf courses in the world. They're brand new, within 5 years, and they're ranked, I think, 19th and 49th in North America.
Wow.
So one of the auction items, which is a big deal at our place, is a 2-night stay at Cabot Links and Cliffs, and you get to play both golf courses.
Wow.
So that's a huge auction item. That's
No kidding.
It's going to be a big deal this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how can people get involved with
Well,
this?
they can call diabetes. What is it? 1-800-BANTING,
Yes.
or they can call the golf club. They can sign up right at the golf club.
Okay.
We have all of the forms there. You can just come right in, register. It doesn't matter if you're a single, twosome, a threesome, or foursome.
Okay.
We'll get you signed up and get you involved in one of the best days of the summer. Really
Sounds like
is.
it. Well, Sam, it's been an honor to meet you. I'm not as intimidated now. You're a kind-hearted guy. It's so sweet of you to do this for the kids, and I'm excited to see what comes of this. This is happening Tuesday, August 1st, correct?
Yes, it is.
At the Shelburne Country Golf.
Golf and Country Club.
Sorry, Shelburne Country Golf and Club. There we go. I got it. 10:30 a.m. it starts. You have the chance to potentially meet the Ritchie brothers. You get to meet Sam and meet all these people that have changed the lives of kids for diabetes. Make sure you stay tuned and take a look at that with them. As of right now, I'm Molly Casey, and you can find Shelburne on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter as well, and we look forward to seeing you next time here on Sports Zone.